see an ever-changing news and computer terminology. Commodore news. Are you keeping up with the Commodore? Yes, the Commodore is keeping up with you. Are you keeping up with the Commodore? Yes, the Commodore is keeping up with you. Are you keeping up? Yes, the Commodore is keeping up with you. Are you keeping up? Yes, the Commodore is keeping up with you.
Hello, and welcome to episode 229 of Zapped to the Past. I am Adrian Mills. I'm joined as always by Mr. Graham Raddings. If you haven't listened before, this is mostly a podcast, where we discuss games that were released for the Commodore 64. We were using the magazine Zap 64 as a monthly guide for the games to focus on, and we're in no way affiliated with Zap 64 itself, of course, but we've covered all those games now. That's no longer happening. This week, though, we continue our look at those games that were reviewed in the successor to Zap 64, Commodore Force, over the period of 1993 and 1994. There are only 45 new games reviewed over this period, and some issues had no new games reviewed at all. So we're not doing them in chronological order. We're rather taking a sample from those 45 each month till we run out of them and have to think of something else to do. So, after the so-called perfect game that was mayhem in Monster Land, Graham, are we in for more treats this week?
Okay, we're back to examine another bunch of C64 games from the pages of Commodore Force. I feel like a crap Cenobite at the minute. They had such sights to show poor Kirsty in those Hellraiser films, and in this C64 iteration, well, this is what we've got. To start with, the game of the film about everyone's favourite oversized wet egg-based shenanigans, this time on a prison planet with a bunch of bald British actors in the licensed but somewhat off-plot Alien 3. Then to football management and to the desk-based tomfoolery of yet another attempt to make football interesting with tables, teams, doorways and bad controls in Jimmy's Super League. Up third, here's a game brought to you by a huge multinational corporation, badly ripping off another game by a huge multinational corporation in the terrible McDonald Land. And then finally, we slip into our spandex underpants, grease up like we're groundskeeper Willie chasing a dog from an air vent, and head into the wrestling ring for some slap, kick and fiddle-faddle in the funless WWF 2 European Rampage. 4 games, 3 aliens, 2 wrestlers and 1 McDonald. E-I-E-I, ugh. Well, as is the standard way, I don't know if treat's the right word. I do have to apologise. I don't know if anyone spotted my deliberate mistake in the last intro I did for the C64 games episode. I said Commodore Format instead of Commodore Force.
Oh, you fool.
I know. I should have studied. It was a slip of the tongue. I don't know why I said it. Anyway, I meant Commodore Force. I'm sure nobody has actually said anything about it, so maybe nobody noticed. Got away with it. I would have got away with it too if it wasn't for you pesky kids.
Oh, you bringing it up.
Yeah, I should have kept my mouth firmly sealed. But no, it's another 4 games, another 4 experiences. Some of these are loosely linked to movies. Some of them are loosely linked to fast food. What can we say?
Some of them is loosely linked to sport, but you know.
Yes, at least 2 of them, yeah. Loose is the word here. Loosey-goosey, baby. Loosey-goosey.
Yeah, it is. I don't know. Yeah. What's going on by 1993 in the C64 world? Not a lot of good. I can say that for sure. In the last episode, the Tron episode, we obviously broke our Kickstarter. That has been successfully funded now, obviously. That went ahead and was successfully funded. So that book, the Zapped to the Past book, is going ahead.
Yay.
If you are listening to this, and we know there's a lot of you that listen to this, that have not backed us, you can still back us. The late pledges are still open for both the PDF and the book. So if you want to get in on that action, on that sweet, sweet Zap to the Past action, go to zaptothepastbook.com and pledge.
Do it.
And, if you're in a country that we say we don't get to, just drop us a line. And I'm sure we can sort it out. It's just posting it. We just put it in the post.
We just figure it out.
We can add it. It's fine. We can do that. But yeah, so zaptothepastbook.com if you do want a copy of that, because this is going to be a limited run to start with.
It is.
In this format,
Numbered.
in this hardback format. That's what it's going to be. So if you are wanting to get in on that, then I recommend you do that, because at the moment we are contacting our Choose a Game tier backers.
Mm-hmm.
We have got to the first 3 so far.
We have.
We have contacted number 4. If you're listening to this and you've got back to us, then we'll have contacted 5 then. But yeah, so we're waiting back on that. I presume what we're going to have to do at some point is shut down the late pledges to get the full backer report and get everything in and the money in and everything like that. So you probably have maybe a week or 2 if you want to actually get in on that. But please, don't miss that. Don't miss out. Don't miss out on this glorious opportunity to get one of those great coffee table books.
Correct.
So that's cool. So we'll be doing that over the summer. The process has started. But, it is where it is. And if you want to, obviously, our last episode was a Patreon only exclusive.
It was.
It was a very enjoyable episode. Our patrons enjoyed it very much.
They did.
You can get in on that action by joining our Patreon at the C64 tier at patreon.com/zapped to the past and get that extra sweet bonus episode every month.
Correct.
You can hear about Graham being called a very naughty word.
Yes, I bloody well was.
For no good reason.
No reason. No reason at all.
No reason at all. He was just called a naughty word. A word I could not possibly repeat on the public-facing episodes.
Absolutely not, no. It's
but
much less sweary affair.
Yeah, on the Patreon one sort of thing, we can say what the hell we like.
Yes.
The heck we like.
And we did.
And we did, and we will do. So get in on that, patreon.com/zapped to the past. Right. We have 4 more games from Commodore Force this week. They are a mixed bag, as ever. And I think, Graham, should we get to the first one? Was there anything you want to add?
Sounds like it's the right time to go. No need to add anything. Go and join the Patreon, join in the fun, get the sweariest episode of sweariness, and all the other goodies that we do, and join in the Discord and all that. But after, once you've done that, settle in and listen to this crazy good stuff.
Indeed. Let's get then to our very, very first game this week. And Graham, that is over to you to tell us and take us to the world of, is it Fury 269, whatever the hell it is? You'll tell us what it is.
Yeah, I will. I will do
close
that.
Enough sort of thing. And all the world of the wet egg. This is Alien 3.
Yeah, and let's establish this from the start. Don't look over a wet egg. Just don't do it. Nothing good can come of that, especially if it's larger than life egg. If you're looking at something that's not a chicken egg and you think that's quite big, it's about the size of a football, American football, maybe more in that shape.
Bigger than that, isn't it? It's bigger.
But maybe, but exactly. Anything above that shape and beyond, don't look over it. Especially if it opens and hisses and there's a lot, just don't do it. Stay away from giant eggs. Generally, it's probably a good thing. Anyway, this is Alien 3. 93% in the pages of Commodore Force, this got. But there's no price. Nobody knows how much it cost. It could have been anything. Well, I suspect it was full price.
There was some weirdness about this on Lemon. I can tell you what it says. It says the game was to be released by Mirrorsoft in 92, but Virgin Games ended up publishing it in autumn 1993. And it's got a list price here on Lemon of £9.99 to you, Governor.
It's probably on the tape version, which I think there would have been.
Yeah.
Disc version was 7 million kroner. No, it wasn't. I don't know how much it was.
Okay.
So as you say, published by Virgin Games. The copyright is, of course, Acclaim Entertainment because it was a movie, wasn't it? This is developed by Probe Software. Probe. We haven't had any of them for a while, have we? They were sticking around a bit. This is produced by the humorously named Joe Boner. We've said that before many times, and he's produced some stuff. Coded by Michael J. Archer. Now, we haven't seen him for a while, but he's the guy that did Altered Beast. You remember that? Nemesis the Warlock. You remember that as well?
Oh, yeah, that was good, that was.
Atomic Robo Kid, he did that. And Sloinia. That wasn't so great on its interface.
I was talking to someone the other day, just as a word aside, and they brought that game up.
Weird. What, physically?
They were asking, we were talking about detective games or something. This was at university, and they were talking about detective games. And they brought up Sloinia. And I was like, don't remind me of that. And he went, what with the stupid moving options? I went, yeah, that one. Yeah.
Wow. Weird. See, its reputation does live on.
Yeah.
Graphics here, and I don't know why I didn't put what else they'd done, but I haven't. So graphics are by Lee Ames and by Lloyd Baker. Hooray for Harold Lloyd. And the musician here is Andrew Roger. So they've all done stuff before. You can go on Lemon and find it out if you like. Put the link in the show notes, maybe. There were some extra credits on Moby as well for this. So it also said design support was Michael J. Archer, Fergus McGovern, Tony Beckwith, Keith Burkill, Tim Round, and the quality assurance was Simon Bland. Extra credits for that. This came out on a number of different formats, as well as the C64, and of its time, around the the early 90s. So Amiga, Genesis, obviously, the old Mega Drive, Sega Master System had a version, the SNES, the Game Boy, and the NES all had versions of this game. And you can sort of tell, actually, And I'll talk about why that's a thing in a minute. Anyway, so this is a game very much inspired by Aliens, but not really anything to do with the film Alien 3. And it's worth establishing that right from the get-go. It doesn't mean it's bad. It just means don't expect a game of the film in the traditional sense. It has characters and some of the setting of the film, but little else, really. There's also more than one alien, so this could be Alien 3, as in that's how many there are on the screen. This is Alien 3, or the 3 aliens, as I like to call it. Anyway, the actual plot of the film, which we'll just quickly go through. So after escaping the nightmare aboard the Sulaco, which was in Aliens, Ellen Ripley crash lands on Fiorina 161.
Oh, it's close.
A bleak prison planet inhabited by a small community of violent offenders who have embraced a strict religious lifestyle and all dudes. Tragically, her companions Hicks and Newt, you remember them, do not survive the crash. Ripley soon discovers that an alien creature has also reached the prison and reached it, came with her, I guess, or at least hatched somehow, and begins hunting the inmates one by one through the facility's dark tunnels and industrial corridors. As the body count rises, Ripley learns an even more horrifying truth. She is carrying an alien queen embryo inside her. With no hope of rescue and determined to stop the creature from reaching Earth, somehow, Ripley joins forces with the prisoners in a desperate attempt to destroy the alien. In the film's tragic climax, spoilers, she sacrifices herself by plunging into a furnace, preventing the Weyland-Yutani Corporation from obtaining the queen and ensuring the alien threat dies with her. And that's the film. The game is different, has to be said.
Very.
So the manual for the game reads this way. The future is now. I don't understand that statement in the context of this. Even now I'm looking at it going, why did they put that? Weird. And it says, the spaceship Sulaco, which is carrying the cryotubes that Ripley, Newton, Hicks have been in a state of hypersleep within. When did you say? I don't know. Is being propelled through space when a malfunction occurs. In response to this malfunction, Sulaco's brain, quote unquote, ejects the EEV containing the cryotubes. Okay. We later found out that not only has the synthetic human, Bishop, been aboard as well, but an unborn alien has also managed to infest itself within the body of Ripley. So far, so maybe true. As the Sulaco plummets helplessly through space, the EEV is hurled out of its hole and crashed onto an isolated section of the mining planet and penal colony, Fiorina 161. Upon impact, the EEV is seriously damaged. Newton Hicks are dead. Bishop, the android, is reduced to negative capability. Isn't that dead also? If somebody's reduced to negative capability.
Less than positive. He's become Marvin. He's become Marvin the paranoid android.
He's just got negative capability.
What's wrong with me? Where's my legs?
Where's my washboard? Where's my washboard? While Ripley is left unconscious but alive. Fiorina 161 is inhabited by hardcore individuals. Don't know what that means. Convicts serving time in this maximum security facility. These outcasts were left on the planet as a maintenance crew, unable to function in civilization. They are joined by a medical officer, Clemens, who has 2 supervisors. That bears no relevance to this story or plot or anything whatsoever. I don't know why they called out the medical officers and his friends. Just it's nice that they did that, I think.
Contractually obliged to, I think.
Ripley, suspecting that aliens have followed her, we're deviating somewhat here, searches for proof. She knows that the company considers the aliens to be an important species and has ordered them not to be harmed. The company, quote unquote, has millions of dollars invested.
Why don't they just write Weyland-Yutani?
I don't know. They're not allowed, maybe. But they said the company is in speech marks, quote. It says, has millions of dollars invested in, quote unquote again, alien retrieval project. I'm thinking that, well, it's probably more than...
Someone's got a folder on the desktop. Alien retrieval project. Don't look in here.
Well, I was going to say, if you're going to have a top secret
Ripley's
project...
eyes.
Yeah, just don't call your secret project alien retrieval because it's kind of a bit of a giveaway, isn't it?
What's on Burke's laptop? What's on his PC? What's on there? What's this alien retrieval project?
Well, I thought it sounded like an album by Vangelis, really, actually, or maybe Jean-Michel Jarre. Anyway, the company has millions of dollars. I would suggest probably billions of dollars, really, in something like that.
Or it's the alternative Alan Parsons project.
It could easily be. Anyway, the Alien Retrieval Project, which would bring this strain of hideous killing machines back to Earth and used as quote-unquote weapons. They're liking the air quotes a lot here.
Oh, they love them. They love them. It's bully years all round.
Ripley now takes on her most important assignment. Is it?
What? Assignment? Does she have to go on assignment? She has a job. When I go to work, I'm like, I've come in for my assignment today. It's your job, Mills.
She's crash landed on a prison planet. I don't quite know how that gives her an assignment. Anyway, she must rescue the aliens' captives, A, and then find and destroy the aliens themselves, A. But anyway, okay. It says, and this is again in the instructions, this is not me making it up. It says, that thump is your heart as you get to confront the aliens. What? Weird. That's weird. It's weird. It's weird.
What's his face from System 3 been near this?
No. All right, to full transparency, I played an easy flash version of this, although I did have a look at the disc version as well, and it just loaded slower. And what you have here is a 15-level alien-inspired run-and-gun-ish kind of game. In this version, however, in this game, so there's some things we need to consider. Firstly, timing. Each stage of the game must be completed within a certain time period. In some stages, your mission will be to rescue prisoners, and in others, you must seek and destroy as many aliens as you can. Different stage categories are missions, get to all the prisoners and free them, destroying all the aliens along the way. Rescue, concentrate on the prisoners and remember time is against you, and rescue them and destroy all the aliens on the way. Exterminate, you only have one goal here, seek and destroy. You cannot exit these stages until all the aliens are destroyed. Okay. You must search everywhere, jump through walls and crawl through tunnels, destroy every hidden alien pod. The survival of even one alien could mean the Earth is in danger. How? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Without you, the aliens will take over. No, they won't. They won't. Without them, that's it. They've stopped. They've stopped breeding. There's only so far they can go. Remember, they bleed acid. They hunger for humans. They don't. They destroy their host. They do that. In all fairness, they do that.
Yeah.
Part of the process. Anyway, interestingly, the game follows the early kind of screenplay concept where prisoners are captured and alive and cocooned by aliens, which is very different from the final movie where the alien simply hunts and kills the inmate, one alien. The interesting thing here, of course, is that the game isn't really based on any one screenplay. In fact, it's based on the final Fiorina 161 prison setting from the finished film, but the gameplay and story objectives were heavily altered here to make it kind of more action-oriented game. The rescue the prisoners concept in the manual comes from an earlier idea that prisoners were being captured alive and cocooned by aliens, pretty much in line with the movie Aliens, really, where the colonists are taken. That never happens in the finished film Alien 3, where the prisoners are simply hunted and killed. So none of that happens in this film. So that's why I said it's a big departure. It's actually more like Aliens, really. However, interesting footnote here, when people talk about the famous early screenplay for Alien 3, they're usually referring to the version by, and I don't know if you know this, William Gibson, the cyberpunk author who wrote Neuromancer. His 1987 script was radically different. For example, Hicks and Newt survived. Ripley spent most of the story in a coma. The action took place on a huge space station called Anchor Point. The aliens were being studied and weaponized by rival human factions. Bishop and Hicks became the central heroes and ended with the prospect of humanity taking the fight to the alien threat. Now, apart from that end line, the rest of that almost describes the Alien TV series, which is interesting, isn't it?
I also thought it sounded a bit like Resurrection.
Yeah, a little bit, which is crap. We don't talk about Resurrection. The game manual actually feels a bit closer in spirit to that Gibson one, really, I suppose. More heavy action than David Fincher's kind of bleak movie. Ripley is armed to the teeth, rescuing captives, destroying alien nests, and wiping out hordes of xenomorphs, whereas the film is essentially a horror story about a handful of prisoners trapped with a single alien. Do you know that there were over half a dozen major Alien 3 scripts before the film was made, including William Gibson's Space Station version, David Tui's Prison Planet draft, and Vincent Ward's famous Wooden Monastery in Space? I don't know how that was ever going to work.
No.
I know finished film
that one, yeah.
It's essentially a patchwork assembled from all those different competing ideas, and there's even different versions of the film. We're not here to talk about that anyway. The game. Things start off okay. I'll say that. Nicely rendered graphics, an okay intro, decent-ish music. He's got some nice production values. I'll give it that. Starting the game, you can choose from start, continue, game mode, read, easy, normal, or hard, and then the number of tries you can have. I'm not quite sure how that kind of works, really, but tries, lives, kind of different. I don't know. Once you've made your decision, the game will begin, and you'll find yourself on the surface of Fiorina with a ladder nearby and aliens running around all over the damn place. You are armed from the get-go with a pulse rifle, flamethrower, hand grenades, and grenades for the grenade launcher, and you press spacebar to switch between them. Ammunition is limited, so ensure you use short control bursts. That's what he says in the movie, isn't it? And you control your mini Ripley with the joystick, left and right to go those ways, up to jump, down to crouch. And you can also shoot at different angles with some canny use of the directions and fire button, which you will use whatever weapon you've selected. So that's how you kind of control Ripley. And use them you must, Adrian. Unlike the film, there are aliens all over the damn place in this game. And they will come running and spitting at you. And you need to shoot them pretty fast too, because they will run into you and kill you pretty quick. Principally finding the cocooned inmates and rescuing them is the plan, and finding the escape for that stage and moving on. And all in 2 minutes, which is not a lot of time. That much.
No,
we'll come back to
not.
that. The in-game graphics are, I thought, excellently realised for this, with a nicely kind of tonally done palette. for this, for a C64 game. They looked all right. Top three quarters of the screen is where the game lives. Under that is the UI. This details your current health via the medium of bar, score, remaining time, current weapon, ammo count, and your radar. You need batteries to activate the radar, which are dotted around the environment. And when on, you will notice the prisons have been separated and isolated, but can be located on your radar screen, which is handy. Your Ripley sprite kind of looks the part. She's notably bald, like she is in the film, as everyone is in the film, I guess, but the character does at least resemble what it's meant to be, which is okay. Things are well animated too. You scoot around, including climbing through passages, navigating ladders and slidey bits. In fact, the way I've just described it makes it sound more like it's some kind of soft play area for kids, doesn't it? Or a wacky warehouse. Not though. It's kind of like the sets in the film-ish, which are mostly corridors and sort of prison-y rooms, rooms of metal and stuff and steel. Steel constructed environment, I guess, with some brick walls, kind of work ladders type approach. This all scrolls comfortably well too, not sluggish speed or any niggles really. This is weird. I've put thighs move around well, and I meant to put things there. But thighs do move around well too.
What were you thinking of, Greg?
I don't know. Anyway, things move around pretty well with a quite well-positioned camera.
Gary sent you a WhatsApp message at that point.
Oh God, he probably did as well. Him and his thighs, his cheeky thighs.
Chicken thighs.
Cheeky chicken thighs. So the camera works well in the game as well. So you must run and climb around, shoot aliens, and find and rescue the inmates before escaping. Do that for a couple of levels, and you'll end up having to fight a boss alien, or guardian, as they call them. This is a big old thing that takes multiple hits, and you only have 60 seconds to do it too, which is, again, not a lot of time, is it? No, it's not. Beat that, and you'll move into the next level, which is a rescue mission, then a mayhem mission, whatever that is, which I think means kill everything. Then more missions and more guardians across the 15 levels until you get to the ending of the game. Fair play. Though the graphics do not vary massively between levels, the quality of the pixel painting remains good throughout the game, with some nice attention to details. The way the lighting changes in the tunnel sequences is a nice touch. And there's some affordance given to the player as you can shoot up and down on the ladders and do different directionals. And of course, you've got a continue option, which is quite nice to see in something like this. The music remains consistent throughout the game, I would say. It's okay. Very aligned to a more arcade-style experience, though, which is further exacerbated with the timer on every level and the overall look and play and feel of the game. This isn't an easy game. There are loads of aliens that constantly run at you or drop on you. And to navigate around the environments as well, you've got to be mindful of that. Because those environments have a kind of look, which is not so bad, but it can feel a bit samey over time. So the environment is nice looking, but quite over 15 levels, I would argue it's probably not going to look that different over time. They look good, but after playing it for a while, you kind of get a bit similared out. It plays okay for what it is, but there's also some niggles that surface for me, and I think we need to go through them. The timer, it's annoying, and I think it really hinders the game more than it ever would have helped. I get the idea of giving you a time frame to drive urgency, but it doesn't really work that way in Alien 3. It just limits your ability to do the game, and reminded me of a similar problem in one of the Dan Dare games. I can't remember if it was Dan Dare 2 or 3 that had a very similar problem. How much better might this have been to allow you more time for exploration? Bring the pace of the game into more of an alignment with the film rather than an arcade blaster. At the very least, let me explore these great-looking environments. Let me find some of these objects and maybe use them, creep around a bit. Maybe not full-on find and seek, but this game would have lent itself to having a series of tasks to complete that align to the film in some way. The graphics are all good. Yes, they can feel samey, and there's less of a niggle when you're creeping around the environment and the aliens are kind of sort of scooting about and you can see them maybe a level above you or you don't quite know how they're going to get to you. Just one alien. That would have worked so well. The weapons, again, from the start are pretty good, but the constant alien onslaught is also really annoying over time and really detracts from the game. Turning this into something the film is simply not. This reads more like the Aliens kind of game than Alien 3, and that tonal difference is problematic because you lose the claustrophobic nature of the film and the game. The film works best when you have people being chased down corridors and through the environment in tight quarters. This game could have inherited some of that logic so easily. Imagine being chased down one of those little tunnels in the game and having an alien sort of rapidly coming up behind you and you have to waggle the joystick to just crawl through the tunnel. That would have meant panic, giving you a bit more panic. It would have made the game feel a bit more aligned to the experience, but of course that's not what we got. So it could have inherited any of that logic. Maybe even a torch-style view that it has in some of the tunnel levels. Have that in some of the screens where you've got to sort of to have a look around. There's nothing to stop you doing that in something like this. We've seen it in other games. And then also lean more on the tracker. You've got the idea of having that battery powered is a really good idea because it means you've got a limited amount of time to track things. That's a really good idea, but have it display the aliens or where the alien is, not where the other people are, though maybe they could be on it. But the idea of that kind of beep, beep, beep sound, when you know that the alien's around, but you don't know where, that could have been something you really played into. It worked really well in the original Alien game, which we looked at years ago. So there's lessons you could have learned here. So while I do like what I played to an extent, but I didn't like the timing. The graphics I liked. I think I've really liked the graphics and the look of it. And 15 levels is a good chunk of change to go at. I was there feeling like they took the easy option and what could have been a really good claustrophobic Alien 3 game with the ability to explore and find stuff and one alien that's creeping about and you don't quite know when that's going to pop up and get you. That would have been a much better experience than having aliens running around all the place and it's just making it into a kind of an arcade blast 'em up. So I think they chose the easy option. They made a kind of more console-friendly version of this. It's very NESy snezzy for me, this, when I think about NESy snezzy games. So it turned it into a line of this run-and-gun type arcade blaster. This had way more potential to be something more than that, I think, and it's a pity. A well-produced and good-looking game with some neat ideas here and there, but too many annoying ones. It's worth a look, just to have a look at the graphics, because in 1993, trust me, there are not many great graphic-looking games. But maybe you could only really play this for 17 days. After that, it's going to be game over, man. Game over. But what about you?
Very good. Very good. The interesting thing about this, just before I get into it sort of thing, is the SNES version. Because the Amiga version, the Mega Drive, the Genesis, the Master System, they're all, and the NES version, they're all similar to this. I think this draws from those in that console. Like the SNES version is very different. Just reading about it on Moby Games, because Alien 3 for the Super NES is very different from the Alien 3 adaptations for the system. It consists of 6 stages, and each you're given a series of missions to complete.
Yeah,
include rescuing prisoners, repairing pipes, fuses, and junction boxes. You get given sort of briefs and stuff by Ripley and things. It's all kind of, so it sounds a lot different. But, I think it's a technically very impressive, almost console-like experience for the C64. This, you get in this period at time, 92, 93, where obviously they're taking a lot of inspiration from the NES and obviously the Mega Drive and the SNES and the Master System are well out. And I think that's pretty impressive from a technical point of view. But by Christ, whoever implemented those timers and these bloody shooting, or made to look over a wet egg.
Maybe he did.
Yeah. That for me is like that, because there's a tough, enjoyable run, gun, and explore game here.
Yep.
As you've rightly said, I pretty much agree completely with you, just curtailed by that stupid timer, which means you simply have to memorize the correct route to rescue the prisoners and try not to get taken out by the aliens too much. And it basically undermines the interesting gameplay that this could have offered, which is exploration. The game looks good, and this is one of the few games on the C64 I was thinking, I could wander around here and have a bit of an explore and stuff. And I did that the first time because I didn't know about the timer. I was just having to wander out, and then suddenly it's like going beep, beep. I was like, what, it's a timer? And I was like, but I was quite, finding, I was shooting, I ran out of ammo, so I was switching to different weapons and taking them out in different ways and rescuing prisoners and just enjoying the kind of ambience and feel of the thing. And then the timer kicked in. I was like, 4 different weapons, pickups, great visuals, music. It's so close this to being brilliant. It really is. But they turn it into a memory test and and make the timer. I don't mind a timer if you had 5 minutes, maybe 6, 10. Okay. But it's so ridiculously tight that it'll undo all of that good work with that one swoop. It's just whoosh, they cut it off at the knee, which is a real shame.
It is.
Because the core gameplay is solid and enjoyable.
Yep.
This is a really good run and gun and shoot, and aliens crawling about, and it's fast and it's technically impressive, and the graphics are good, and the aliens look like aliens. You look like a good character. You're climbing up and down. You're finding stuff. And it's nothing like Alien 3 though. Hey, you look out like it. But yeah, it's just the thing. I was really enjoying this until the timer kept getting in the way. Yep. And then when I did manage to I played it quite a few times, learnt the route, and then got to the vent. So I rescued everyone, then got to the vent, and I thought, oh great, I'll get in the vent. But then the timer kept going, and then I ran out of time in the vent. I was like, oh, sod this.
Yeah.
I couldn't be arsed with sort of fighting against that and thinking, right, if I do it faster this time, maybe I'll get through it. So just because I kind of knew that I've got a suspicion that timer's going to be all the way through it.
Yeah.
And that's just going to piss me. It's just going to piss me off. So I was like, nah, I appreciate what they did here. I think it's just, maybe if you didn't have the time, you'd get through it quite easily. And because it didn't take me long to get to the vents and stuff, but I don't know. It's one of those things, isn't it? Shame, though. Yep. Good. It's good. It's good, though. But I suppose if you played this with a cheat to turn the timer off.
Yeah, might be. And I still think it's too many aliens in it. You just needed the one. Just make it, have the one alien. The whole power of that film and the first film is that there's one alien. Aliens had a squad of Marines against a mini alien army.
Yeah, and it's a war film, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, very much so. But Alien 3 is not. It's back to the kind of the roots of Alien. And having the one alien is plenty terrifying if you've got no idea when the alien's going to just suddenly attack and appear, and you don't have to actually have it appearing on the screen every 2 seconds. In fact, it would have been better if it didn't.
Yeah, which you eventually would get in Alien Isolation. In
Absolutely.
Whatever that was.
Which is a great game as well.
But it really does make you terrified because you have no weapons or anything, and you're just scared shitless of the alien.
Yeah, and you got hiding lockers and things like that. And really good.
Yeah. There we go. That's Alien 3. Not like it. Not like the film, but could have been great. Could have been great, but not quite. Let's move on to our second game this week. And we're back with Jimmy. Good old Jimmy.
Yeah.
Jimmy. And we last saw him in episode 208 for Jimmy's Soccer Manager. We weren't that impressed then.
No.
So will we be impressed now? Because yes, this is Jimmy's Super League.
It is.
Okay. And this princely title could have been yours, Graham, for £3.99 if you wanted.
Too much.
If you hadn't read the review and seen it got 26%, which is 26 too much as far as I'm concerned, but there you go. This was developed by The Ghost.
Ooh.
who also did something called Snare in 1993, but that was only ever reviewed in Commodore format, so we'll never take a look at that. And it was also published once again by Beyond Belief. I'm pretty sure I made the obvious jokes when we looked at the first game, so I'll just refrain from making them. Just go listen to that. This shit writes itself, Beyond Belief.
It does.
This came out on the Spectrum as well, which I think is where it started, and then it got ported to the C64. Something that explains itself when you see how this game presents itself. We'll come to that in a bit. And it's also where I found the in-depth instructions for this, which say the following. Instructions. This is all in caps, by the way, so I won't shout. You've been given the job of managing one of the best teams in the world. You are also up against 27 other great teams in the world, 2 Super League divisions. Your job is simple. Win the Super League Championship. You can use objects in your office by moving around the icon onto which object you want to use. You can use the phone to phone the bank manager or another team's manager to bid for one of their players. You can also get scout reports, transfer players, etc. There you go.
Okay.
Hope you know how to play it. Hints and tips. When the commentary begins, the game is played on how strong your defence, midfield and attack is. For example, if you have a bad midfield, then your passing may be bad. If your defence is good, you'll be able to stop their forwards. And if you have good forwards, the better the forwards, the more goals they will score when in front of goal. That sentence just breaks my head.
That's my head. I was thinking, have you got some sideways as well? The forwards go sideways.
If you have good forwards, the better the forwards, the more goals they will score when in front of goal.
It's twisting my melon.
This does not mean how it continues, though. This does not mean that if you have a good forward line that you will win. You will have to get near their goal first. So what you really need is a balanced team, preferably with a good midfield.
Okay.
Who wrote this shit?
Exactly.
There's a loading screen to this, which is a version of the front cover, which is a picture of some footballers. It's okay, I guess. It's probably the best thing about this tedious art of a game. But once you've enjoyed that, you must start the game, and the merriment can begin in earnest. So the first thing you need to do is pick a team from the 28 available. These teams are not just English teams. No, it's a selection of the cream of the crop from all across Europe. A Super League, if you will. Displaying its Spectrum heritage, you don't select a team by number or joystick. No, this is all keyboard controlled. You use Q&A to decrease or increase the number of the current team selected. So Q&A, right? Which do you think out of Q&A would be increase and which would be decrease, Graham?
Well, I would say Q would be increase because it's above A on the keyboard.
Yeah, but no, Q is decrease and A is increase.
Stupid thing.
I know.
You've broken the rules of keyboarddom.
And anyway, once the number, so you basically just, you don't type a number, which would be the easy way. You have to go 1, Q, whatever. Anyway, once the number of the team you want has been reached, what do you think you press to select?
I would say an S.
No, M.
Oh, that makes perfect sense.
Why not S? Enter, space. Why M?
Any of those things, yeah. Stupid.
Once done, you get to the real meat of the game. And get used to this screen because you're going to see it a lot. So essentially, you are sat behind a desk and you've got like a 3D. I'll use the term 3D in the loosest possible term.
But you've got this kind of
perspectively challenged view of your desk. in front of you. On this desk is a computer with a mouse. There's a phone. Beyond this, there's a door, and against the wall is a filing cabinet. Above the door is an arrow. And I foolishly thought I'd move the arrow with the joystick or keys or something.
Yeah.
No.
The usual way.
The usual way. No, it's all keyboard control. I suppose that does allow you to get around the options quite quickly, but there you go. You move the cursor with M, which I suppose is move.
Move,
I don't know why, but not option. And you use S to select the present option. So they have learned at this point to use the correct keys. You start on the door, so your hand is above the door, and this is the play match. You cannot do that, though, at this point. You've not picked a team. So why start there? Why start there? Why not start on pick team? Or just giving you an option, right? You need to put in your 11 players. Pressing M takes the arrow to the filing cabinet. It says here the option is files. So you select that, and this allows you to pick your team. And this brings up a screen where the info for each player with a little handy drawing of them is individually shown. It's got their name, their age, position, skill, speed, stamina, aggression, ability, whether they have already been picked for the team, and their current value if you wish to sell them. You can place them in their team by pressing P, but you pick, or you can sell them. And you need to populate your team with the 11 players. It tells you what position. So, you've only got 12 to start with. So you just pick 11. No subs. Comes to that in a bit. Once done, you can just exit back to the main office, that other screen. You move to the next option, which is the telephone. This allows you to get a loan or scour the transfer market to buy new players. You go into that and you can just offer you don't actually contact the thing. You just ring the player up. You go, hello, I'd like to buy you. Okay, no. The next option is the PC. This allows you to see the present league table or get a scouting report of the next team. And if you do that, you'll realise they are far, far better than your lowly bunch of reprobates at this stage. They're amazing. You're crap. And then you're back to the door. So that's it. That is your options. That is the depth of this game, right? That's it. Pick a team, buy, sell, get a loan. That's it. That's all you can do. And have a scout. You get a list of so you select the next match. You get a list of fixtures for that week, and then it's back to the office. Only now the screen is split. So the top third of the screen, and now remember, this is the point where you can remember it's a Spectrum game at heart. So the split of the game into game screen into thirds makes some sense. As we know, that's how a Spectrum screen is split.
Yeah, that's right.
But this top third now just shows one half of a pitch.
Yeah.
With no players.
Yeah.
There's nothing. It's just a top half of a pitch. There's a commentator on the right. It's not animated, just a commentator. And below the pitch, there's a line of text showing what is presently happening. So it's like Smith passes the ball. That's a good bit of dribbling. Harbour is tackled. So and so and so on and so forth. It just goes like this. The bottom third of the screen changes. The middle bit is still the desk. That's the thing. You're still in your office.
So stupid.
The middle section of the screen is still your office. The bottom third of the screen now shows the teams playing. So these sort of stats for the game. So you get the teams playing and the present score. You get the time ticking away slowly to 90 minutes with a very annoying beep, 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 beep. And also as well, it shows you how much money you have. I don't know why. Do you need to know that at this stage? I don't know. What week it is. You can do nothing here. Nothing. Just watch the game happen. You can't speed it up. You can't do any substitutes. You can't change tactics. You can't change its formation. You can do nothing. If there's a shot on goal, though, a goalie and attacker will appear on the pitch in the view at the top of the screen. And the attacker will shoot at the goal. Now, this made me absolutely howl with laughter the first time this happened, because the goalie just falls down and then the ball just levitated over them. It just was going along the floor and then just went up into the top of the net. And I was like, oh my God, this is just dreadful. The goalie might fall down, the ball won't rise up though, and then they'll save it. And they'll go, what an amazing save. Or it'll be like, because they haven't got names for the opposing team, it'll just say number 4 has scored or whatever if they scored against you. And they will, because they beat you because your team's crap and they're not. And then it'll go back to the beep, beep, and until the 90 minutes is over and ticked interminably away. And then you'll get the results of all the games, and then it's back to your office. So the thirds will disappear. You're back in your office. At this point, a player might ask for a transfer, and you can approve or decline it, and that's it. And that is really it. This is a deeply depressing and boring affair with nothing at all to recommend it. Your players can get injured in game, and there's no way to do anything about it. There's no way to actually access any kind. So you're down players, right? So you're just down to 10 players or 9 or whatever, and it's just like you go then to pick your team, and it's like, oh, you ain't got 10 players picked. Yeah, I know, because one of them's injured. You wouldn't let me substitute them. You stupid, pathetic excuse for a football management sim. The lack of depth and options is painful, and despite some attempts at sprucing up the presentation, the game is lackluster at best. And I use that word kindly. Watching the game is pointless because you can't do anything to influence it. Might as well just be given the result, which would be, and anyone that was injured, because that's all that can happen. So you get back to your boring office to do more boring stuff and then move on to the next boring game. Woeful. In 1993, the fact that shit like this was still getting spewed onto the machine boggles my mind. Another awful football manager game to sink into the morass of other awful football manager games. Look, you could, if you're competing against cult games and you're still worse, that's quite the feat. I mean, and they churned out some rubbish, but here we are, beyond belief. It really is beyond belief that this game has been released. Jimmy should be ashamed of himself. If this is somehow linked to Jimmy Greaves, which it says on Lemon it is, he's not going to be laughing about this with Saint. He's going to be shaking his head and going, what an awful thing. This is dreadful on every level. There's nothing to this because you can't manage. The one thing you need to do in a football manage game is manage. And you don't do any of that here. Awful, awful thing. Did you enjoy it?
No, I did not. This felt like a game where someone had described football to somebody who'd come from another planet. And they were like, oh, it's all right, I've got it. Have you got it? You've got what football's about? Yeah, I've got it. Desks, doorways, filing cabinets.
Computer.
Do I need to draw anything with relatively consistent perspective? Nah, mate. Just make sure the mouse mats are square, but everything else has got the angles, the same similar angles to the desk, including the angled disc, for reasons. It's just stupid, this game. M to move arrow, S to select option. It's just, joysticks have been around a long time.
Yeah, 1982.
It's got two joystick ports on it. When it jumped to the game, when you finally get to play a game, and my game was Liverpool versus Barcelona, randomly. I had £400,000 in the bank for some reason. And then the pitch was at the top. I couldn't help but notice that, firstly, I'm not sure what the commentator was or wasn't doing. Secondly, that he commented every second, every minute. So every time the timer ticked up, he made a comment. Excellent. And I've got here on my screen grab here, excellent ball control by R. Bedford. It's so formal in his description. He's not like, Chantarello's past to Miggins. It's like, and they're not real footballers, by the way. I have no idea who they might be.
I wish they were.
But he wouldn't say, they don't say their first names or their initials. They don't go, no, it's R. Bedford's on the ball here. And also the pitch that's drawn at the top. It's just, let's talk a little bit about the scale of a football pitch, because that's way off.
Perspectively challenged. It's like
not
a
just the
five-a-side
perspective.
pitch.
Not just perspective, it's too small. The goal's too big. There's no way you're missing a goal there. The goal's about 9 meters high. It's ridiculous. So no thought had been put into this. But behind the scenes, other than these few graphics on the screen, it's mostly tables and selections of things and selecting all the players. Who cares? That in a game where all the players, are they all invented? They weren't real legitimate players, were they? I had no idea if they were. They didn't look like they were, though. So what does it matter who you pick? Anyway, I picked just the first. I just picked the first 11 so I could get to the game thing. Is this the worst controller system ever for a game where you've got changes of keyboard control? It's all bad. It's just a monstrosity in every way, visually and everything else. I can't see anyone ever enjoying this. So you would be playing any one of the football manager games or any one of those other ones by now for budget money. This is just a complete waste of time and space. It's awful. Awful, 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 awful. So no is my answer. And it's only got 9 stupid buttons, 9 digits on the bloody telephone. They've got a 0 on the damn phones. So you can't ring anybody on it anyway. Stupid.
And a hash and a star.
And yet they've gone to the extent of drawing the computer keyboard with a full ISO keyboard layout. So, it's just no. Egg off, you rubbish piece of junk. No. And I did like the way that the doorway, by the way, and the filing cabinet are the exact same perspective. So that's not a filing cabinet. That's someone just drawn one on the wall.
Yeah, absolutely.
To make it look like they've got one.
Is there anything in here? Oh, it's just, ow, I'm just hitting the wall.
Exactly. And the light switch is alarmingly high or the door is alarmingly small. So it's a door for midgets. So I don't know.
And who has a lime green desk?
Yeah, exactly. And bright green wallpaper. This isn't good. Nothing's good. No. So move on. Rubbish. Absolute rubbish. Jimmy should be ashamed of himself if he ever sanctioned this nonsense. It's absolute rubbish. Rubbish beyond belief. Even the crowd in the football pitch at the top just looks like an infection. Like you've grazed your knee and it's a close-up of a grazed knee. It's awful. Get lost, rubbish game. Be gone forever.
Yeah,
awful.
It is crap. Awful. Let's move on from Jimmy's shitty league to our third game this week. Let's see if the quality goes up. Because Graham, you get the chance to tell us all about the golden arches, the buns with seeds, and all the nonsense that happens in McDonald Land.
Yes, 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickled onions, and a sesame seed bun. That's all you need to know. McDonald Land. Aye. This was published by Virgin Games. It was produced by Michael Merrin. Merrin! God, sorry, get that out of the way now. Father Merrin produced this game. There's reasons. Right, so bad.
Yeah. Out, hold him out.
Out.
I cast you out.
Cast you out. Yeah, exactly.
I wish I
The demon
could.
is a liar. It will lie to deceive us. This is coded by Craig White. Not Craig Wright, Craig White. And Delvin J. Sorrell. Now, he did Scorpius, Weird Dreams, and Street Warriors, and Super Robin Hood. Do you remember them? Any of them?
Yeah, vaguely. I remember Scorpius.
Yeah, and it was also coded by Graham Ashton. Do you know what game he gave us, Adrian?
What did he give us?
Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis, the old green Indiana game.
I cast you out.
Exactly. No wonder Merrin was producing it. Graphics by Debbie Sorrell. She did something called Auto Test, which is a game by the same people, essentially. And the music is by Henry Jackman. No relation to Hugh. Okay. I'm going to say this right off the get-go. I don't like this kind of corporate-sponsored game idea notion, malarkey. They are a company famous for their marketing and targeting of kids for junk food. And I get it. That's their business, and they are exceedingly good at that, in terms of their business model, okay? Exploiting, a certain demographic of people to their benefit and all of that. Fine. Do what you do. I don't profess to visit Dirty Ron's very often myself, ever really, or if ever, but nor do I have an opinion of those that do. Each to their own. If you like burgers, fine. We're not here to talk about that. But you cannot pretend who this company targets with their marketing. And for a time, it was heavily aimed at kids. They've actually don't do it as much now. But
No.
McDonald's used to aggressively target kids during like all of the children's TV and things like that. McDonald's always had adverts on for the Happy Meal and things like that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, like I said, shifted the focus. It's now a bit more on the food. And in some cases, oddly dysfunctional familiar relationships that can somehow always be brought together by the medium of burger. Anyway, this, along with a few other things, is a game about McDonald's and also uses characters that no longer exist for McDonald's, as far as we know. The story then, one sunny day, Ronald McDonald, trademark, was performing magic tricks at a picnic in the meadow when all of a sudden the Hamburglar, trademark, appeared and ran off with Ronald's, trademark, magic bag. Luckily, Ronald, trademark, I know, don't steal his magic bag. Don't do anything with it. Luckily, Ronald, trademark, has many friends, including among them Mick, trademark, and Mac, trademark. The MC Kids, trademark. That's pronounced MC Kids, by the way, in case you didn't know what MC is.
Yep.
He calls upon them to help find his magic bag, and they will. Hurrah! The Hamburglar, trademark, is hiding in one of the 6 lands of McDonald Land, trademark. In their search for the Hamburglar, trademark, and Ronald's trademark magic bag, the MC Kids, trademark, must collect puzzle cards and beware of the crazy creatures sent out by the Hamburglar, trademark. To protect his newfound interest, they must hurry before they are too late. That's what hurry means. That's what hurry means, isn't it?
All I can hear in my head is trademark.
Well, there's a reason for that. So, and that's the description of what you've got to do in the game. That's from the. But now there is a lot more to the manual for this. In fact, it's about a 9-page manual for this game. Can you believe?
It's crazy, isn't it?
But I'm not going through all of that.
No,
because I don't want to.
God.
No, that's as far as I'm going with it. With that, if you want to read the manual, go and find it online. There's a really annoying version that you can go onto a Scribe website, which you have to subscribe. I ain't doing it. I aren't doing it. But I've got the bits I needed. Anyway. So this is a platform game, a really, really slow platform game. Desperately slow and floaty, in fact. And none of those things are good. No. As with all Mario-inspired side-scrolling platform games, you work your way across the scrolling backgrounds, across those levels in Magic Land and McDonald Land and whatever the hell, trademark. Jumping on platforms, collecting stars and objects and avoiding the enemies. Well, that's the outline plan. That's not quite what happens here, though. And I also found when I was diving around, as you do, a funny comment on Lemon, which says, and I quote, this is from somebody who calls themselves Wald's New Media, and it says, I coded this. The musician HJ choosing to use Electrosound was a complete bodge. It stole 1/3 of the page's rest of time. I had to shift the scroller into NMI just to accommodate his awful choice. Rubbish. That's the comment from the guy that made it.
As just to sort of stop, as someone who's sort of familiar with what NMI means, could you explain do you know what he means by that?
So an NMI is a non-maskable interrupt for the C64. So there's different ways you can do interrupts on the C64. So there's traditional raster interrupts and there's non-maskable interrupts. And it's just a way of utilizing a separate kind of interrupt, a maskable interrupt, non-maskable. It's just another way of doing interrupts, essentially. And when you've got low raster time, you can use those, which are kind of they exist in kind of a separate raster time space. I'm probably not defining that very well. We need somebody to come and, somebody talks assembler more than I do, but essentially it's just...
But it's not, I take it it's not a good thing to do.
No, it means that the person's music routine took up far too much raster time, so they've had to divert to an alternative, which doesn't leave a lot of... It's not the way you would normally do it.
It's not optimized,
No, it's more of a hack, really, I would say.
The fact they used electro sound made me laugh.
Yes, neutralize the electro sound, I think is what you'd be saying. The game itself has an awful title screen, doesn't it? A blocky McDonald Land logo. Really blocky. Horrible.
It's awful.
Really bad.
Yeah.
And there's an F1 and F3 for 1 or 2 player, which you can play. It's 2-player this, Mick and Mac and Mick, whatever they are. The game starts and you realise the game happens on about 2/3 of the screen with nothing else there. No UI other than the top left of the game window, where it just says M, L, and some hearts. Is that lives, money, and lives? I don't know. Power moves? I don't know. I don't care, really. You control your little Mick or Mac person with the joystick. Movement is jumping, I guess, and directions. That's all part of the plan. There are a lot of controls described in the manual for this. Loads. In fact, there's probably a lot more content in the manual than there is in the game. Anyway, in the game, there are some colourful graphics. I think I'm being generous, but that's what they might be. The main sprite is kind of a high-res overlay of some kind, and while detailed-ish, is also very small, almost Mario small, maybe too small. You'll move Mick or Mac, and at that exact second, the real horror of this utter piece of shit will reveal itself. It is slow. Everything is slow. You walk slow, you jump slow. The camera following you around is slow. Often you'll jump around and the camera and scenery of the game are lagging behind you. There are basically no enemies to speak of too. I saw one snail at a certain point when I was flying about and floating around slowly. So this is crap Mario with real gravity issues, like if Mario was set on the moon. So you'll kind of move, jump, float. You might collect coins if you can be arsed. It doesn't really matter, really. There's no sound effects, just the annoying cacophony of music drilling into your skull. I more or less floated across the whole first level. You can do a kind of Mario-style crouch and jump for extra floaty height, and even bounce some of the extra blocks, of which there's different types in there, which can change where the game controls a bit, but you'll never really be bothered. And so I just kind of floated across, more or less out of range of the camera more often than not. Then I inexplicably towards the end of the level hit some kind of bounce wall, and it just slowly tumbled me back all the way to the beginning of the level for no reason whatsoever. Really slowly, just diddly-diddly. I couldn't do anything about it, just spinning for about what felt like 3 minutes across the level, maybe even more. There is nothing redeeming about this awful, awful game. Even as an advert for burgers, it's crap. And that's not particularly difficult to do, is it? This has more than one... So the fact that this has more than one level is a joke, because who on earth would want to play this for any length of time? Your eyes are burned out by the crap over colourful scenery and hindered by the microscopic main sprites. Your ears are punched repeatedly with the annoying and dreary audio. Your brain suffers from slowdown as you try and reduce the revs on your comprehension to taking what you're meant to be playing at any given point. This is a dreadful, dreadful thing. Even old McDonald would have taken a shit on this and drowned it in the water hole.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, no. Exactly. This is awful. This got 58%. I don't understand how it got.
No, I don't either.
This game is absolutely rubbish in every level. It fails at being what it's meant to be, which is essentially a Mario ripoff. There's already a million games. That's an exaggeration. There's already tons of games that are better than this, including Gianna Sisters, which was done years before this, let alone any of the other ones that were played, which are all better than this. Go and play any one of them, or even the budget ones, of which is plenty, are better than this piece of crap. This is rubbish. Now, I know this came out for what was it? $11.99. Full price. Full price. I don't condone anybody eating burgers, but just go and get yourself a Happy Meal or something for the £2-3. How this game is $11? This is more expensive than almost every item on the menu in a McDonald's. I don't get it. Yeah. You'd get more fun out of that, and you'd enjoy it quicker. The fact that this is a drawn-out, dreary, side-scrolling piece of arsehole, don't do it. I mean, like I said, I don't advocate McDonald's because this is a company famous for, we've got a healthy option. What is it? I don't know. Not having a burger. It's salad.
Bag of carrots.
Yeah, no, that was their famous healthy option. Well, we've got fruit and veg. Like, you haven't. You probably, I don't know. It doesn't matter. Your opinion of McDonald's is one thing. This is old school McDonald's, so they've rebranded themselves and whatever. I'm not here to talk about that. But this is an example of what goes catastrophically wrong when the company behind it's got more money than sense, and they don't care. They didn't care what this looked like. They had absolutely no skin in the game. But to try and charge people $11.99, £12 for this, that's an embarrassment to them. This is a fast food company that specialises in selling burgers for 99p. This game's absolutely a piece of junk. It is rubbish. Rubbish. I can't explain how bad it is. Even Ronald McDonald would come out of his eerie grave and take a massive dump on the chest of this thing. It's awful. Awful. His curly wig spin. I don't know much about Ronald McDonald. He disappeared, didn't he? Because he was kind of too creepy, I guess. I don't know what really happened. I don't know the full story of that. And the idea of a Hamburglar, I don't think that's going to... The modern world isn't tolerating that kind of thing anymore. What did you think?
Stop. It's already dead.
Yes. Oh, my God. This is a punched burger, isn't it, this?
Yeah. Well, God. It's a dreadful licensed platformer from a dreadful company that is a terrible Mario World ripoff.
Yeah.
The post on Lemon, as you rightly said about the guy writing the music and lecture sound, is hilarious and probably explains the technical shortcomings of this horror. Slow scrolling, platforms you can't see, arrows that blow you back to the beginning of the level. And maybe, they should have just taken the music out because it's crap. The music's awful. So if you could have, I'd have just taken it out and gone like, well, there's no music, but it was some sound effects, but at least it runs at a decent speed. Because this is, that music is the monkey's paw, Graham, of us saying, why don't these games have music to fill the void? Oh, all those times you said, just put some music in. It'll be good with music. Music will lift it loads. Then they did.
Yeah, not like that.
The paw went, and we went, oi.
No, not like this. We didn't mean like that.
Yeah, we just need to be careful what we wish for once again. My description of this, because it's shit, is that this is the quintessential platform tutorial that I put together in Unity in about half of an afternoon for my students.
Yep, it is. I thought that was a crap student game, first game.
Yeah, where I just show them the mechanics, how to implement them, jump and gravity and all that kind of stuff, and move around and, put some enemies in and things like that, and let them design the levels and make them try and be fun to interact with because they can design that and have some fun doing that. But unfortunately, though, this never got given to the students, this game, to do anything fun with. There is one weird thing in this, which I was like, that's the weird ability to flip yourself upside down and then you
walk
play
across the bottom of the levels. Yeah, it's a good idea.
And then you go upwards and there's stuff to find at the top of the level which you can't get to. And I was like, okay, that's a nice idea, but shame the game's shit and runs
slow.
really slow, and you can't. Like, when you first jump, you're like, where do I jump to? I can't see the floor, and I don't know what to jump to. What am I jumping on?
Do you think
that's always a bad
frame
thing.
rate? What frame rate do you think this is running at?
1.
Yeah, it's not so much. I think it's probably in the it's but 6 or 7, isn't it? Something like that.
It's low. I think it's single digits.
Yeah,
it's very, very bad. And the scrolling is so slow. You go off screen at some points.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I shot off. I just shot upwards. I hit some kind of spring thing and it just shot me that high in the sky. It took me about 10 minutes to come down. I'm like, how high did I go?
Yeah, absolutely. What piece of shit. Awful thing. Terrible thing from McDonald's.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. I think it's 58%. Well, maybe it might be a little okay platform, but no, it's just a dreadful thing.
No, crap.
Yeah, really bad.
Go and play Elephant Antics. Go and play that instead. CJ's Elephant Antics.
Yeah, or any of those kind of Elephant Antics knockoffs. All the sorts of things, or, Nobby's Aardvark or whatever, Nobby the Aardvark and stuff.
Yeah,
let's go play them. They're way better. Let's not talk about McDonald Land anymore because it's a dreadful thing. Let's move on. We still got one more game to go this week. And, this is WWF 2 European Rampage Tour.
Ooh.
$10.99, another full pricer.
Whopper.
The week of the full prices. Got 66%, the classic 2/3, Graham. We don't really know what to make of it, so just give it 2/3 because it's Ocean. Our final game this week is the larger-than-life WWF 2 European Rampage Tour from Ocean. This is, of course, the sequel to WWF WrestleMania, which we were less than impressed with, I seem to remember, back in episode 195. But like a pinned fighter, WWF was not going to stay down for long. They've broken free and sprung to their feet in order to fight on another day or something. Like I said, published by Ocean. The developer here was Arc Development. We've seen them before. They did. They were responsible, not these coders, but they were responsible for Forgotten Worlds, Pang, Robozone, Simpsons, Bart versus the Space Mutants, and Crackdown that we've seen before. So
interesting.
A varied bunch. Code here is by Eamon Barr. Only thing he did for the C64. He's listed on things up to the PS2 era on Moby Games, though. Graphics are by Paul Walker. We've seen him before. Ikari Warriors, Battleships, things like that. Pang and others.
Slouch. No slouch.
The music is by Mark Cooksey.
Yeah.
I'm very familiar with him. But it does seem that this was possibly his final piece for the C64. Although on Moby, he's listed on that Nick Faldo game that coming up, but I don't know which came out first.
Which came first, the Faldo or the wrestler?
I don't know. That sounds like a film I was watching last night.
I'm thinking about when it said which came first. I'm like, ugh. Just dirty.
Absolutely. Cooksey, though, would go on to work on loads of stuff all the way up to about 2010, 11. He could do loads of stuff for the NES, the Game Boy, the DS. He did loads of things. The game loads out with the standard WWF logo loading screen before we get the title screen with the WWF logo again, twice.
Yep.
There's no mistaking, this is a WWF game. Name of the game, there's some scrolling credits. It's one of them big scrolling credits across a big picture. It is what it is. We've seen this before, things like Untouchables and all those kind of things.
Yeah, we've seen that kind of thing.
Yeah. The logos, I mean, everything's drawn all right. The music is very Mark Cooksey.
Yep.
It's okay, I guess. I don't know if he's trying to go for a bit of a rock sound, but he hasn't quite got the sound of a guitar, and it feels like it wants to be a rock tune, but it's not.
The tune it's playing is actually a version of one of it's an American Dream. I think it's one of the wrestlers' themes.
Is it? I didn't realise that. Yeah. I'll say something in a minute, but pressing fire gets you to the character select screen, and this is where things diverge from the advertisements and the 16-bit versions. Because if you look at the adverts for the game for this, they're all on Lemon. You can go have a look. This was advertised, Graham, as a tag team game.
Is it now? Yeah,
but that's clearly gone in this version. We're just down to a single player. I think how many fights do you do? Is it 13 fight campaign?
Yeah.
And a 2-player practice mode. So if you do choose the 2-player mode, though, unlike the first game, you can fight as any of the combo because you've got 4 characters to choose from. These are Ultimate Warrior, Hulk Hogan, Bret Hart, or Randy Savage. And you can, in 2-player mode, fight any of them against any of them. I remember in the first one, you only one character you can only fight against another one. Right. And that was that, wasn't it? The downside to that is, if you do choose that, once you've had a fight, it just says press fire to replay, and that's it. You're locked into them. Only way out of that mode is to reset the machine and a reload, which is crap.
Rubbish. That is rubbish.
Yeah. Choosing the single player mode, though, lets you pick from any of those 4. And then we've got a number of fights to get through. And the fighters that we were fighting against are Typhoon, Erwin R. Skeister, I don't know how to pronounce his name, and Sags.
I'm sure that they're legitimate wrestlers.
I don't know. Sags is a terrible name.
They don't sound like the top card wrestlers, those.
No. You need to beat them all 3 times in different venues before finally facing off against Animal from the Legion of Doom.
Right, that is one.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, they're all just words to me.
Mostly to me.
And I've written here, I know now why Graham cries, and I know now how Graham feels when describing a football game. Because I'm thinking I'm on the other side going, these are just words. These are just names. I don't know anything about them. And like when you're saying about like these people, are these real footballers? I'm like, I know how you feel now. But oddly though, it does seem like a tag team game, weirdly, because when you pick if 2-player pick, you 2-player pickers, you've got a kind of this option screen, and there's two spots at the bottom. But in the single player mode, the character select screen, it still has boxes for player 1 and 2. They haven't changed it. But as soon as you pick a player, it's like, off, but it's not to be. So it's like, I think there may have been a plan to do a tag team, but they just didn't get ready or whatever. Yeah. So once you've selected your character, it loads up the digitized image of the fighters for the first fight. All the character selects and images for the fighters are digitized images. I've seen a lot worse. They're all right.
Yeah, they look almost like what they are, don't they?
They're recognizable, as digitized images. Yeah. So I'm not going to hold that against it. But weirdly, the first fight, these images and who you're fighting is set against this St. George flag. Because the first fight
that was weird.
Well, the first fight is European, remember? The first fight takes place in the Britannic Arena in London. Did you not recognise it?
No. No, I didn't.
I don't know. No, I didn't either. So this is it. So you get in the first fight, and the fight starts. And the way this sort of pans out is you beat the first 3 fighters. So you beat Typhoon, Erwin Sags in London. Then you do it again in Germany, and then France. But the final bout against Animal takes place in Madison Square Garden in New York. Seems to go against the idea of this being a European Rampage tour.
Yeah, they didn't. At this point, they didn't care.
No. So, but it's essentially you just fight the same 3 fighters 3 times and then the final one. So it's actually only 10 fights, I guess. Okay. Pressing fire when you're on that title screen starts the fight. I played the cartridge version, so it's all pretty instant. So it's straight in. Okay, so imagine the tape of this version's got some loading and stuff. I'll have a look, but it is what it is. You're straight in. So straight in. When I press fire, that I actually did a kick. Pressing my foot button got me to do a kick.
It's like, go, you're off.
So the screen here is the usual wrestling game view. You're looking down from the sort of front of the ring from an elevated angle. There's some crowd at the bottom, sort of silhouetted, and at the top there's some more crowd. There's in the top left and right corners there's St. George flags with WWF on them. In between this, across the top, there's the two names of the wrestlers, their respective health bars underneath their names, and that's kind of it. The two wrestlers, well, I guess they're well drawn in that ocean high-res sprite overlay style. They move about, and you begin to wrestle. There are a number of moves you can do, quite a lot of them. Context sensitives. I'll give you a list of them. These are from the instructions. Walking, you can walk left or right.
Always
you
useful.
can also walk up and down as well, but it doesn't say that.
Yeah, you
it's left
can.
or right. That'd be a really flat wrestling game.
Yeah.
You can run, double tap your joystick in the current walking direction. And I like this. It says, and your superstar will start to run. They'll refer to them all the way through the instructions as your superstar.
Yeah.
They keep running until you release the joystick. And then if you run into the ropes, you can reverse direction and you'll bounce off the ropes. If you push down on the joystick while you're running, your superstar will execute a running roll. And if you hit an opponent during this move, you'll knock them down. This is your shoulder charge. Now, in the running instructions, it says he will keep running. Your opponent will be knocked down if you collide with them. So if you're just running, but you can also do a shoulder charge. If your superstar runs into his opponent while he's walking or standing, your opponent is knocked to the ground. You've just told us that. It's not a separate move. That's just part of running. There's the flying kick. If you push fire on the joystick while your superstar is running to execute a flying kick in the same direction, this may also be executed if your superstar is standing on top of a corner post. Anyway, there's the running dive. Push up on the joystick. You can climb any of the corner posts. So if your superstar is standing in the corner, push the joystick towards the post, you climb on it. From here, you can dive, which is exact opponent from the standing position and pushing up. You can also jump down, and your superstar will jump down from the corner post. You can leave the ring. You can move to the front ropes and push against them. After a short delay, your superstar will climb through the ropes and jump outside the ring. You may, however, be thrown from or roll out of the ring as well. You can push towards the ring with your joystick and your superstar will climb back in. If you fail to make it back into the ring before the count reaches 10, your superstar will be disqualified and forfeits the match to his opponent. If you're just stood there pressing fire, will either do a standing slap if your opponent is in medium range or a standing kick if they're at long range.
Ooh.
You can do a clothesline. To perform this defensive move, press fire as your opponent is running past. If you time it correctly, you'll fall flat on his back. You can do a cover head. That's not a move. When an opponent is running, you press fire and your superstar will bend over and cover his head with his arms. That's not a move. Don't tell me that's a move. If the opponent then collides with you and your superstar is strong enough, he will throw the opponent up and over his head. That's a move. Drop kick. If you press fire while your opponent is running at you and he's not close enough, you can stomp. You can press fire when your opponent is lying on the ground in front of you and your superstar will stomp him. You can do an elbow drop. Press fire it up when they're on the floor and you can elbow drop them. You can pin them. So if they're lying on the ground, press fire and down. If you are being pinned, you have to rapidly press fire. This helps force your opponent off. If a pin lasts for a count of 3, the match is over and the pinning superstar has declared the winner. You can pick someone up. If your superstar is strong enough, you can pick up a winded opponent. Press fire while standing in front of him. If your superstar has been picked up by an opponent, quickly move your joystick from left to right. That's waggle to you and me. You can struggle free. You can throw them. If you're holding an opponent above your head, you can throw them to the ground by pushing left, right, or up. You can do a knee slam.
Ouch.
Push, pull down on the joystick while your superstar is holding an opponent above his head. It will execute a knee slam. Rolling, while your superstar is on the ground, push up or down and you roll. But note, if your superstar is hurt, he may not respond to any attempted moves till they regain sufficient strength. And there's the arm lock. This is read grapple. So you can grapple an opponent and you must react quickly to gain an advantage. Press fire rapidly to build up your strength. If you're strong enough to win the arm lock, you will either pick up your opponent or force him to run in the direction he's facing, allowing him to bounce off the ropes if he's close enough. Your superstar may then attack his opponent as he bounces off the ropes. If neither player wins in an arm lock, both players will remain in an arm lock. Until someone wins, I guess.
Just have to take the fun out of anything. Oh, this crazy goodness.
And so it's wrestling. Okay, it's a wrestling game, really. You try and whittle your opponent's health down to allow you to pin them to the ground or throw them out of the ring for either a count of 3 or 10, respectively. Manage that, you move on to the next fight. And if you make it all the way through, then you get a congratulations message with a digitized picture of your chosen wrestling superstar and some more music. And that's it. Okay. The visuals are okay. It looks like a wrestling ring. There's a crowd, decent sprites. They're okay animated. But the backdrop is the same for every fight, no matter where you are. You only know you've moved country because the flags change in the corners, which is crap, really. The sound effects are rudimentary hit sounds, that kind of thing. And there's no atmosphere to this at all. And that's kind of what we said about the first game. You'd have thought they'd have learned. In fact, there's less atmosphere in this because in that first game, you got that nice opening with the spotlights on the crowd and everything. So you at least got some kind of intro. In this, there's nothing. So once again, there's no drama. There's no drama in this. It's so by the numbers and so basic in terms of presentation. This could be any old wrestling game, really. There's nothing to say this is WWF. There's no crowd noise at all. No sense of pomp or circumstance or anything. And we said this about the first game. Wrestling games are entertainment. They're drama. They're stories. They're about stuff. Then the wrestling is almost tangential to the soap opera of the whole thing. When you rip all that away, you're left with a boring wrestling game. No interstitials, no taunts, nothing. How hard would it have been to just ramp up some crowd noise when pinning someone?
Yeah.
You know?
Turn up the chip pan.
Yeah, to the ground and make it come to life a bit. No, it's as flat as a pancake, and that's a very boring and dull experience.
Yep.
It's clear that the home of this is, going to be on the 16-bit machines. I think maybe, I think the first one probably sells well enough on the old bread bin to justify a stripped-down version port for it. Oh, just get it on the C64, blah, blah, blah. Some people will buy it still. But I think if you got this home, and if you were playing it on your own, and you'd spent £11 on this, unless you absolutely love digitized images of Hulk Hogan and Bret Hart, you'd have been pretty disappointed with your purchase of this. We said it before, Graham, and I'm going to say it again. Where was fun?
Yep.
And it applies again here because this is dead boring, really dull, and it's not WWF. And it wouldn't have been hard to actually include some WWF into stuff. There was more in that first game. Yep. There's even less in this. So, yeah. And the fact that it's supposed to be European and ends up in New York, well, there you go. I didn't like this. What did you think?
It was rubbish. No tag team, no fun, tiny sprites. It's not what wrestling is mostly tag teams, lots of fun, and massive things. The big dudes. I mean, Hulk Hogan was 6'7". The Ultimate Warrior they're all well over, they're all strapping lads, aren't there, most of them?
Yeah, they're big and well grown.
Strapping ladies, yeah, they are. They're all homunculus, massive people, massive. So to make them into tiny little sprites is just silly. No, it's better if these games have less moves and less complication. I mean, Rock and Wrestle managed it. It wasn't perfect, in fact, far from it. But it still remains better than this, which absolutely blows your mind. With the amount of money and cash that's been injected into the World Wrestling Federation, or as it became World Wrestling Entertainment at this point, with, and they were called superstars, and so they were certainly in the US, and it had by this point happily crossed the Atlantic to us. So they were huge in Europe, and not just physically, but the actual sport, quote unquote sport, was very, very big as entertainment. So yes, it had an audience. There was this big kind of, notion of a Rampage, WrestleMania Rampage, these big events. They brought that across. But none of that is conveyed here. It all feels very low-key, small scale. Everything's kind of scaled down. The moves feel overcomplicated and flappy. Running around the ring is no fun. It's devoid of all the things that you need in this. And like you said, the first game had a little bit more of that. It was still missing most of it, but it had a little bit more of the razzmatazz. The one thing you need in these games is that, at least, and bigger sprites to convey the kind of bigness of the whole thing, and then just reduce the amount of moves you've got. So with this, they overcomplicated it. Yes, the sprites are more defined, but what does it matter when they're tiny, minute things? It doesn't work. You need to be able to climb up on the corners of the ring and leap off and do all these kind of crazy moves. All of these wrestlers have special moves for a reason. The whole point of it, the spectacle, is them climbing up the ropes and leaping on each other and throwing each other out of the ropes, and then they're having the crazy countdown. Where's the referee, for example? You need a referee in something like WrestleMania, surely. You can't just wrestle in there, unless of course the Rampage doesn't have it. I don't know the rules. Maybe the Rampage is one that doesn't have a referee. I don't know. It doesn't matter, does it?
No.
What you'd have here is what a wrestling game kind of would look like if you removed most of the things that made it fun. And as you say, where was fun? Well, it certainly was not to be found in this one. How do you cock it up a second time? I'll tell you how you do that. You don't put any care or attention in it like you did the first one, and you just reduce the scale of everything down to even to the point when it makes no real sense. Like you said, what's so European about being in Madison Square Garden? It's a massive misfire of a license that shouldn't have been at a price that should not be. £11 for this. If you were a wrestling fan, and this is really what annoys me about these kind of things, because it's just, again, we've seen it before many, many times. It's just exploitation of a fan base. So there are fans that were bought into this whole idea of the wrestling federation, hook, line, and sinker. They have their favorite wrestlers. They have the posters. They bought into that and all the action figures and everything else. So that's who they were really kind of targeted at kids. Yes, I know adults enjoyed it and everything else, but this is kind of more of a kids thing, really. Hulkamania and Ultimate Warrior had their entire fan base of early teen kids, really, and those were the ones that were buying into this. So they knew exactly who they were targeting with that price point. someone's going to get this for the C64, and this isn't going to, delight them. They're going to want to, clothesline the person that sold it to them, and then, side suplex and put someone in a Boston Crab. And that's exhausted most of my wrestling knowledge right there. So, no, this is a game that is rubbish. The Ultimate Warrior would have run over this with lawnmowers, or whatever he famously said about Hulk Hogan. Run lawnmowers over my thighs, or whatever it was he said. Utterly reprehensible piece of garbage. Another one to add to the list of the three. Honestly, funless three, those should be. Not Fun Boy 3, the funless three. So, no.
Yes.
No. No, this is no wrestling game. Not at all.
No. And there you go. That's another 4 games done from Commodore Force. A hit rate of 2 out of 8, 1 out of 4 ago.
Terrible.
It's not looking good. Hopefully, things might pick up. But we know it is what it is, isn't it? I mean, what do you do? What do you do, Graham?
Yeah, this is just what's left. It's the dregs now. We're at the dregs. There's, like you said, 1 maybe half good one here, 3 utter pieces of crap. It was a similar story before, wasn't it? So the ratio, like you said, 25% ain't good.
No, it's not. So that's it for this week. That's our 4 games. It is what it is. I think Alien 3 could have been so much better, but that timer
wouldn't have taken a lot, would it? Such a shame.
No. In our next episode, which is in a couple of weeks' time, we will be looking at the works and the influence of, mostly Jean-Michel Jarre.
Yep. Right.
But there will be talk about other sort of influential synths and electronic bands of the sort of 60s, 70s, 80s, I guess, on the Commodore 64 music scene.
Yeah.
Because obviously there's, and as we're finding out in our research, there are many more tunes that we didn't realize were versions of other of real tunes. I should say, released records or something like that. And we just didn't know, and it's unusual to find these things. And there's the way that they've sort of been changed or altered to sort of fit the C64, and they've come along. So it's been quite an interesting journey so far.
It has. Voyage of discovery in some ways. Yeah,
so that's our next episode. That's in 2 weeks' time. And so, we've got a good old Gary Brown Sauce on for that, because he's an encyclopedic knowledge of this kind of thing.
Yes, is the kind of pedia that we like, isn't he?
Yes.
Encyclopedia,
That's one way of putting it, yeah. Yes, it is. So yes, that's our next one. And obviously, by the end of the month, there'll be another Patreon exclusive as well, which you could be listening to if you go to patreon.com/Zapped. Or buy some stuff. Well, you won't get to if you go to the shop, but we have a shop as well. It's zappedtothe.past.shop. We have a Ko-fi if you want to donate, ko-fi/Zappedtothe. But more importantly, if you want to get it on the Kickstarter still, if you haven't, if you're and ahhing about it, then you've probably got a couple of weeks at best, because we'll sort of be shutting down the late pledges by then and moving into sort of full production phase, because we'll know how many we need to sort of produce and everything. So if you are on the fence about that, then get in there, zappedtothe.com, and pledge away. It's still open. And I think on that note, I think that's about it. You got anything you want to add, Mr. Raddings?
No. I'm just, again, licenses being what they are. I'm just a bit surprised that it's a shame. I think my takeaway from this particular batch of 4 games, well, I say 4 games, the one game that was a game and the other 3 that were just turds on the rug, was that it's just a shame that had with a little bit more thought been put into Alien. And it sounds like somebody did think of that, didn't it? Because when it got to the SNES version of Alien 3, somebody thought, actually, let's not make it that way. Let's do it much better. So obviously, somebody somewhere had the same idea as me and you and probably a few other people. But don't go and play that one, because I think it's worth looking at, because it is a pretty game to look at. Don't play the other 3, not unless you want, you just don't want that experience.
Don't play any of those. Don't play Jimmy Super League, McDonald Land, or European Rampage.
No, do not.
Sorry, just before we do go, I'm going to tell you the next 4 games for next month.
Oh, yes, yeah.
The July games from Commodore Force. The next 4 coming up. We have Sleepwalker, which is the Ocean one, not the Zeppelin.
Another one,
yeah. There's American Tag Team Wrestling.
Let's hope there's wrestling in it. It's not looking good, though.
There's more wrestling. There's Football Manager 3.
Oh, God's sakes.
This is just the same as this week. It's a football management game and a wrestling game. And then there's the interesting kind of puzzle game, Locomotion.
Okay.
Which isn't based on the arcade game, but I've sort of had a look at it. And it's like, it looks quite interesting. So that might be it might be all right. I don't know what Sleepwalker's like. That's got the highest score, but it could be good. It's an Ocean one, so who knows?
We'll find out.
But that's the games that we'll be looking at in July. There you go. So on that note, I think we'll say goodbye. So as ever, I have been Adrian Mills.
And I have been Graham Raddings.
And you have been listening to Zapped to the Past. We'll see you again in 2 weeks, where it'll be all things yummy yell yeah.
Thank you for listening to the Zapped to the Past podcast. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the world of Commodore 64 games, as well as all the other amazing things we like to talk about, inspired, of course, by our lifelong friendship and journeys through all those fun games, times, TV shows, films, music, and everything in between and beyond. We will, of course, return very soon with another episode to explore more games and other exciting stuff. Until then, if you want to listen to all the previous episodes of the podcast, you can. Just go to our website at zappedtothepast.com and you'll find them all there. Alternatively, you can also find us on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, Amazon, Google, all of them. Just search for Zapped to the Past and you'll find us. We also have a Patreon, which gives you early access to ad-free episodes, instant access to our amazing Discord server, discounts on our zappedtothepast.shop merchandise, a shout-out, and even involvement in the odd episode or two, all for less than the price of a sandwich. Go to patreon.com/zappedtothepast and join in the fun at the C64 tier. We do always like to hear from our listeners, so if you'd like to communicate with us, you can contact us via the website at zappedtothepast.com, email us at zappedtothepast@gmail.com, or find us on all the usual social media platforms. And if you like what we're doing, you can like, share, and write reviews, because it really does help us out. Zapped to the Past is written and produced by Adrian Mills and Graham Raddings, and produced at the legendary Flaky Bits 2.0 studio. All opinions expressed in the podcast are those of the writers, and while we indeed love the Commodore 64 and everything about it, we are not affiliated with any particular Commodore 64 magazine or publication in any way. Stay safe, and remember, we play these games so you don't have to.